Mio Mao. Wow, 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 wow. Mio Mao. Mio Mao. Mio Mao. La 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 la. Please learn. Mio Mao. Mio Mao. La 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 la. Wait. Is it working? Yeah, it's working. Imlo. Imlo. Oh, oh. I'm gonna leave it that way. Na, 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 na. Oh.
The Duke from Resident Evil Village knows more than you might think. Throughout your interactions with him, he can be heard repeating a number of different catchphrases, but one of them actually isn't his.
What are you buying? Just something an old friend of mine used to say.
This is of course a reference to the iconic merchant from Resident Evil 4.
What are you buying?
The Duke from Resident Evil Village.
I know that already. What's that? Well, Tofu McChicken.
Does tofu make the best McChicken sandwich? Let's find out. First, we want to start with 2 blocks of tofu drained. We need less liquid in this tofu, and that's why I'm going to squeeze it extra hard. Whoops, that was a little too hard. A little accident here, but that's okay. It's no big deal, because all in all, this is just going to get broken up anyways. Now, I know I said stop pressing tofu, but that was only just for cooking tofu how it is. We need this to be pretty dry to work as a chicken patty. Now, after about 15 minutes of each one being pressed, we're going to toss these into a bowl and start with a 1/4 cup of gluten. That's going to be a lot of the texture of this chicken. There isn't a replacement for this one. It's needed here. And we also need 1.5 tablespoons of methyl cellulose. It's one of my favorite ingredients. Now, just like the last video, which was the jackfruit nuggets, where I described how corn is used in wallpaper paste, glues, textiles, and many other commercial products, I hope to not see any comments about how methyl cellulose is used in laxatives, because so is chocolate, and that's not stopping you from shoving that in your face. Now, for flavor, chicken is pretty mild, so we're just going to be adding in about a tablespoon of nutritional yeast and a half teaspoon of kosher salt. Now, I'm going to give that a mix, and I'm going to get in there and mix it by hand for at least a minute or two. I'm kind of kneading the gluten to create some gluten strands. We're going to make this pretty dense. Once we have a fairly dense mixture and the kneading created some of those gluten bonds, I'm then going to add about a half teaspoon of olive oil and mix that up. Then we're going to jump right into turning these into patties, and hopefully by this point you jump right over to the subscribe and share button, but we'll see. So this should create about 8 patties, and you'll want to make these about the size of a McChicken patty, so pretty thin actually. For some reason, no matter how long I've been doing this, I am unable to judge size. That's at all. I just cannot do it. I make giant nuggets and for some reason large patties. I've heard that's a problem for some people. Now, as we're making these, we're going to form them into patties, dip them directly into some cornstarch. That's going to kind of help dry them off and get them ready for their batter, and then just toss them onto a lined baking sheet. I'm using just a sill pad. Now, I'm going to use a ring mold just to get these into nicer circle shapes than what I've created. I can use the extra to create another patty. And as you could see here and from that intro shot, I've made these way too thick, and we ended up only getting 7 patties out of these. There should have been 8 with some extra. So at this point, I'm going to dump the remaining starch into another bowl. I'm going to let these rest for about 10 minutes, which is plenty of time for me to fall asleep because of Beam, today's sponsor. I know if I don't get enough sleep.
Fuck that.
So that didn't even feel like 10 minutes, did it? So now cake batter. And then lastly, we just need to add about a teaspoon of olive oil. Now I'm just going to whisk that
What the fuck? Where's my internet? Go.
together. And then we need to dip our patties into the batter. And I'm going to toss them onto a lined baking sheet, the same one that I was using before, and then just throw them in the freezer for about an hour, or if it gets too late, the day after. Now, I'm going to check and see how they're doing and realize that they completely shifted and slid into each other, creating a complete mess. I have to separate them and try to fix the batter as best as I can, and then just throw them back in the freezer for the next day. So tomorrow's here, and honestly, these worked out great for lunch, so I'm pretty happy about that. I'm going to fill a high-walled frying pan with some oil, bring it up to temp around 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Once we get the temp up to heat, I'm tossing these in 2 at a time, making sure they don't stick to the bottom, flipping them over multiple times, and once they get a golden brown, I'm going to pull them out and toss them on a wire rack. Just going to quickly pinch on a little bit more salt, and really, I think these are coming out good, but I did notice that I wanted more black pepper flakes in the mix. I wanted these to be a little bit peppery. So I decided to crack on some more black pepper on the last few, fry them up, and while these are frying, I'm going to go ahead and toast some buns, shred some lettuce, and now let's put these together. The McChicken is simply just some mayo. I'm going to be using some vegan mayo. Top off the lettuce, and here we go. I realize these are thick, but you know what? They're still going to be good. So now let's see what Monica has to say.
It's good.
Right?
I love it.
Yeah. It kind of tastes like a McChicken.
Let me get another bite.
Yeah, here are your thoughts, honest thoughts.
Yeah. So I love it. The flavor is really, really
Okay. Looks kinda cool, not gonna lie. Okay. Let me. I'm going to. I'm going to make some food because I'm hungry, and you're going to wait for me or no, it depends. But yeah, I'll be back in 10-15 minutes maybe. Yeah, probably 10. Okay.
smile. Now the sunshine brings the light. Fill me out with a flame. I will let you in this game. Take me out when I'm down. 'Cause with you I'm safe and sound. 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 Take me out when I'm down. 'Cause with you I'm safe and sound. 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 I'm safe and
Jesus. It's kinda loud. What? Where we ended? What we gonna watch? Some shit. Yeah, I'm gonna watch some shit. Hmm. 30 minutes.
A game's opening minutes embody all of the effort and progress that has been made on that project. In the case of Resident Evil 7, this opening cutscene encapsulates over 3 years worth of challenging work to overhaul the way Capcom used to build games. Every frame of this cutscene is also a testament to the hard work of a development team committed to taking the franchise in a new direction. Today, I'd like to tell you how one game drastically shifted the way a developer worked, and why this game is its most important release of the last 4 years. This is how Resident Evil 7 saved Resident Evil. Resident Evil is a name long synonymous with the genre its games inhabit: horror. Since 1996, it's been near impossible to have a conversation about horror games where Resident Evil isn't mentioned. By late 2012, it was the last man standing. 7th Gen had wiped out what remained of its classic survival horror contemporaries, and even Resident Evil didn't entirely resemble its former self, having evolved a generation prior with the smashing success of Resident Evil 4. Though releasing to mixed reviews, its latest entry at the time, Resident Evil 6, appeared to have also been a success. However, these reviews would go on to inform Capcom that all was not right with the franchise. You see, Resident Evil were survival horror games that sold like shooters or action-adventure titles. They were anomalies in their own genre. Even its second most recognizable franchise, Silent Hill, sold respectably but considerably less. Resident Evil 4's directional shift came largely due to the sales of 0 and the remake of 1, both on the Nintendo GameCube. They did not sell satisfactory numbers, and it was decided that a new direction must be taken with the games to match or exceed the previous sales of numbered titles. Resident Evil 4 brought an increase in action to the franchise, which made it more accessible and allowed it to garner larger sales. With larger sales come larger budgets, and by the time Resident Evil 5 rolled around, the franchise was not competing with any other horror games, it was competing with the big boys like Halo and Call of Duty. 5 was an even bigger success than 4, but it led Capcom to determining that Resident Evil was too big for the survival horror genre, and needed to break into the North American market significantly and consistently to be financially viable. In a 2012 interview, series producer Masachika Kawada, who had just finished working on Resident Evil Revelations, had a number of interesting insights on the franchise's departure from survival horror. Looking at the marketing data, the market is small compared to the number of units Call of Duty and all those action games sell. A survival horror Resident Evil doesn't seem like it'd be able to sell those kinds of numbers. RE4 started in that direction, and RE5 kept going in that direction. And I think that, especially for the North American market, we need to keep going in that direction and take that a step further. And that's exactly one of the reasons that Revelations is the way it is. Finally, he also remarked that, I can't really speak for Resident Evil 6, but I don't think that it necessarily has to go all the way in that direction, the Call of Duty direction. It doesn't have to be a straight-up shooter. With all of this in mind, Resident Evil 6's approach to integration of mechanics and pacing from various genres of games is not surprising from both a critical and financial perspective. If you want a game to sell as many copies as it can, making it appeal to as many people as possible makes sense. The problem with Resident Evil 6 is that in trying to be so many things, it lost the focus needed to excel at any of them. This is why, despite a monstrous 5.8 million copies sold at the time, it still could not match the numbers Resident Evil 5 did. And when you consider that 6 almost certainly cost more than 5 to make, this presented a problem for Capcom, but not one it would immediately work towards fixing. Resident Evil 6 released in October of 2012, but Resident Evil 7 didn't begin full development until April of 2014. What happened in that span of time changed the franchise forever once again. Though likely hesitantly given the sales and reception of 6, it was decided internally that Resident Evil 7 would continue in the same direction, so an undisclosed team of Capcom developers began working on a version of the game. Sometime in late 2013, this version was determined to be not optimal. Masachika Kawada said that it wasn't really coming together, and the state of the game drew the attention of Capcom CEO Kenzo Sugimoto. He thought the series was in trouble, and called on one of Resident Evil 5's producers, Jun Takeuchi, to solve this problem, a responsibility that Takeuchi accepted almost immediately. Takeuchi worked on the very first Resident Evil. He was no stranger to the franchise or the challenges brought on by the growing scale of AAA development, having shipped Resident Evil 5 4 years prior. What made Takeuchi special was his commitment to his vision. He was asked to take care of Resident Evil, and though making the best game possible was of utmost importance, he was also tasked with bringing Capcom's efficiency standards to par with other modern developers. His first goal was simple: assemble a team of developers that could bring his ideas to life. Takeuchi asked himself what Resident Evil actually was, and came to the conclusion that the new Resident Evil must be a horror game.
My glasses.
He also
Oh, dear.
immediately decided that the game would be in first person to further immerse the player in its atmosphere. Takeuchi's ideas were radically different than what Capcom had just released, so he sought out team members that were on board with a return to survival horror and who got his ideas. The first member of the team was its director, Koshi Nakanishi, who had previously directed Resident Evil Revelations and was excited at the prospect of making an intimate horror experience. Though 7 was always going to be a smaller title than 5 or 6, Takeuchi knew that the project would face many challenges, and the second member of the team was a project manager, Makoto Kodono. Though initially joining Capcom as a programmer, Kodono was also known as a project fixer at Capcom. He had gained the nickname the Slasher for how quickly he would identify problems with production and cut ideas if he thought they would present long-term issues. With a director and project manager found, Takeuchi knew that he needed people that understood how to budget and market this vision of his, and he chose 2 producers. The first was Masachika Kawada, who believed Takeuchi was right in his belief that it was possible to combine the best aspects of classic Resident Evil with cutting-edge technology. The second was Tsuyoshi Kanda, who had worked for both Capcom and Capcom USA, making his experience in international marketing essential to the project's success. And with this team of less than 10 people, Takeuchi's second goal was now attainable. He wanted everyone currently on the team and everyone who would join it in the future to have a clear understanding of the game they were making. He also needed to get the game approved by the business side of Capcom. To kill two birds with one stone, the small team created a short cinematic to get all of the project's concepts across as directly as they could. This cinematic, taking place in a rundown house and featuring a single scare, got the message across loud and clear. It was a hit with other developers, but the business side of Capcom raised a number of questions because it deviated so heavily from what the franchise had seen before. Takeuchi quelled these worries during his presentation to them by laying out that the project needed to be narrow yet deep. He envisioned Resident Evil 7 as a non-open world, single-player horror experience that would not require online features because they explicitly conflicted with the anxiety and fear the game would create in the player. He thought that this was what Resident Evil 1 was about, and that it was the essence of the franchise itself. His confidence and the team's well-prepared game design document convinced the suits, and the project was fully approved. Finally, Takeuchi's third and final major pre-production goal was at hand. By 2014, game development had obviously changed immensely since 1996. In those days, Resident Evil was headed by the legendary Shinji Mikami, who, for all his brilliance, was even more ahead of his time than his games would let on. In both Resident Evil and Dino Crisis, he had various ideas he wasn't able to implement because the technology simply wasn't there or required too much work to realize and implement in a timely manner. Fast forward to 2014, and the same challenges confronted Takeuchi and the Resident Evil 7 team. Takeuchi believed that a generic, all-purpose game engine was not suitable for RE7. He needed something tailor-fit for the ideas he wanted in the game, and also something that would remain useful and relevant for years to come on later titles. Resident Evil 6 used MT Framework, a proprietary engine built specifically to address efficiency issues that Capcom faced in the early 2000s. It powered nearly all of Capcom's releases from 2006 onward, but by 2014, even though the engine had received a number of updates to keep with the times, it had itself become an efficiency liability, and was limiting the amount of achievable gameplay and visual elements that could be added or brought to life in a project. It was also during this stretch of time that North American developers had put significant work into streamlining game development with engines that were not only able to create photorealistic visuals, but also contained several repositories of tools capable of identifying and modifying issues with games on an asset level. Takeuchi needed this level of innovation, efficiency, and control with the tools they were using, but with the flexibility to create anything he or the Capcom production team needed. He didn't want an engine that worked for everyone. He wanted an engine that worked for Capcom, and so the RE engine, RE standing for Reach for the Moon, began development alongside 7.
Ares, what? Reach for the moon? Well, I was sure that stands for Resident Evil.
The team's plan was to begin by using a generic all-purpose engine to Greybox and then port everything to RE Engine in a year. Greyboxing is the process of blocking out or blueprinting a game's levels in a crude manner to understand their design, scale, and overall playability. Unity was chosen as the game's temporary engine, and it's here that you begin to see Resident Evil 7's influences shape the game. After 7 was formally approved and the decision to create RE Engine taken, the RE7 team expanded to around 50 members. During this period of further pre-production, Takeuchi had a number of rules for the team that were established to create an effective trial and error system. The first of these was that anyone, from programmers to artists, were free to present ideas about the game's design. The second was that no one should feel tied down to previous RE games, and that they could try new things without fear. The third was that team members shouldn't concern themselves with what anyone else thought of their ideas. If Takeuchi thought it was a good idea, it was. All of this was done to create independence. Takeuchi wanted them to be self-sufficient so that they could both iterate and squash ideas amongst themselves. By rapidly going through so much of what worked and what didn't, they would save a great amount of time by having a clearer vision of what to move into final production and how to complete it once there. This was all overseen by Nakanishi, who gave the team 2 to 4 week stretches of time to implement the team's and his own ideas. These stretches of time are otherwise known as sprints, and this method of software development where every member of the team addresses and solves problems is known as Scrum. Scrum was used because Takeuchi saw trial and error as a necessity for the project's success. By using it in pre-production, he was able to ensure a wealth of polished ideas made their way into the game. Of course, with members of the team not yet confined to specific roles, they all influenced the game's story, which at that point had a much lower priority to the game's mechanics and hadn't been written yet. For example, the part in the game's opening sequence when Mia cuts off Ethan's hand is the result of the art director's complaint that the beginning of the game lacked some punch. However, to even reach the game's final opening, it saw a drastic change from an initial idea where Ethan and Mia weren't married and didn't know each other. RE7's scrapped opening saw Ethan riding a taxi to the Baker house as he was an investigator in search of a missing person, that being Mia. In this cut sequence, you can see Ethan grabbing his phone that displays an image of a woman. This woman is Manuela Velasco, who starred in 2007's Wreck, a fantastic found footage horror film, a genre of horror which Resident Evil 7 proudly emulates with its various playable video.
Whoa. I watched Wreck and Wreck 2, and they were a fucking great movies. So scary, but great.
Videotapes spread across the
And those are Spanish films, so
Baker residence and general VHS era
know how
aesthetic.
to scare
When Takeuchi
people,
approached
I guess.
Nakanishi to direct RE7, he told him he wanted a game in the spirit of Sam Raimi's 1981 classic, The Evil Dead. The idea was that the game, like the film, would have a limited number of characters and be confined to mostly a single location. It was also during pre-production when Southern Gothic horror was settled on, and a small part of the team got permission to go to Louisiana to do on-site research. This is where an indispensable technology would emerge and begin to change the game's workflow. You've no doubt been blown away by a game's visuals at some point in time. Today, games look more realistic than ever, thanks to advancements in graphics processing power and with several refined technologies and techniques that accurately recreate aspects of real life. Among these is a technology named photogrammetry. Photogrammetry is the process of extracting two-dimensional data from photographs and using it to create three-dimensional objects. While not a new technology, photogrammetry has taken hold in the video game industry and has helped produce very lifelike portrayals of characters by scanning in the faces of their actors. Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk 2077, Norman Reedus in Death Stranding, and Courtney Hope in Control are just some of the amazing results of photogrammetry. However, photogrammetry is not just for scanning people. In games, it's also widely used for scanning terrains, structures, and objects. Takeuchi was, as mentioned, brought in to fix Resident Evil. This did not just include the direction of the franchise from a gameplay and presentation standpoint. It also meant addressing a number of issues with the manner the games were being created under the hood. While RE Engine was an obvious step in the right direction, there was still the matter of asset creation, which had previously plagued Resident Evil 6. Each object in that game was created from scratch, and tirelessly worked on by multiple people. It was such an immense undertaking that the team wasn't sure they could do it again, especially with the increasing graphical fidelity of games. Understanding this dilemma, Takeuchi gave the technical art team a number of demands. He wanted 7 to have the shortest development cycle of any Resident Evil. He wanted the game to have the most amount of assets ever produced in its history, but he also wanted the least amount of people ever working on it. And finally, he wanted the most photorealistic visuals of any of the games. The technical art team, headed by Makoto Fukui, knew that there was a single answer to Takeuchi's requests: photogrammetry. By using this technology, they could not only create incredible lifelike visuals, but because they were scanning in objects, they no longer had to painstakingly make them from scratch. There was still an amount of cleanup work to be done on scanned assets, but nowhere near the amount required in comparison to how assets were made for RE6. There was just one issue. In order to create their photogrammetry pipeline, the art team needed a proper scanning studio. Photogrammetry requires, among many things, an array of cameras taking photos of an object from every conceivable angle. The team needed around 150 cameras, in addition to all the other equipment, so Fukui and his team came up with a number. They were all worried this number, because of its high cost, would get rejected, so they compromised and lowered it to something they felt would get the green light. When Takeuchi saw this altered number, he said, "Is that really all you need for a studio? No way. Tell me how much it really costs." Takeuchi knew that the fewer cameras available, the less impressive the results using photogrammetry would be. His high standards could only be met if the team had the proper tools. Fukui gave him the real number, and it was approved. Photogrammetry is responsible for a large chunk of what you see in Resident Evil 7. Its characters, its atmosphere, its soul is the result of the search for efficiency. A search that wouldn't be over just yet. Now the year is 2015. The foundation of the RE engine is complete enough to support porting the team's existing work on Unity. The part of the team responsible for the gray box is split in two, and divided among those who would work on porting and those who would continue grayboxing. Everyone in management, such as Takeuchi, Nakanishi, and Kodono, knew what this meant for the project. It was time to begin scrapping ideas. Scrum allowed the RE7 team to try everything, but now that work was being finalized in RE Engine, what worked stayed and what didn't was cut. This is usually a low point in a game's development cycle. Takeuchi was no stranger to how this process demoralized team members. This is why he planned for it to take place during the middle of production. If it happened in the middle, they would end development on a creative high note, because there's still so much to be done in the middle that it's possible to continue pitching ideas. This would boost morale and keep everyone focused on the tasks at hand. Resident Evil 7 was growing at a fast pace, and even had to take on more project managers. At the core of all of this work was another of Takeuchi's demands. Resident Evil 7 would see no delays. To accomplish this, there had to be a change in the approach to development. Scrum was useful for the game's prototyping phase, but to move to full production, the team needed to adapt what's known as the waterfall model. The waterfall method of software development sees delegation of tasks with developers locked into specific roles. It's the traditional method of game development that sees different teams working on jobs and then handing them off once complete. But for RE7, there would be a twist. There was a worry that all of the ideas from the gray box wouldn't come together cohesively or promptly. This is because in the waterfall model, you have to have one team finish their work before another team can begin working on those assets, or you risk that following team working on incomplete assets that can cause any number of problems. With the RE engine itself in an incomplete state, this was not a risk the team could take with the game's production. Kodono's idea to solve this was to just have everyone involved with the creation of that asset working on it at the same time. Instead of a modeler passing off their work to an animator, the modeler and the animator would work together to address potential issues and create the assets with everyone's expertise and priorities in mind. Kodono thought of this structure as similar to a factory production line. By assembling developers in these lines, programmers, designers, and artists could communicate what they needed and complete assets without any further work needing to be done on them except placement in the game's levels, for which another line was also created. It was this twist on the waterfall model that allowed them to work on the game at a blistering pace, and even though they ran into problems, they were solved with relative ease. That was until they got a package in the mail. The scope of RE7 was laser focused. It had been planned that way by everyone in management. On the day they received a development kit for Project Morpheus from Sony, later becoming officially known as PlayStation VR, there was great deliberation among the team. Virtual reality was always in the back of the minds of the RE7 team, but its priority dwindled as the months went by, and adding another moving part to development is always difficult. Kazuhiro Takahara, a programmer who had joined the RE7 team in 2014 and was working on RE Engine, was a VR enthusiast. He and a number of others on the team had a great liking for VR and thought it would fit RE7 well. With the tools finally available to them, Takahara pitched Takeuchi on implementing VR for the game. Takeuchi was not fully on board, but allowed them to experiment to see its merit and viability since it was a technology he too had interest in. In short time, Takahara and the unofficial VR team came up with a number of concepts that Takeuchi deemed no good for RE7, because they were too focused on VR itself and not the game. With this criticism in mind, the VR team created a demo called Kitchen. In this demo, Peter and Clancy from the Sewer Gators tapes are killed by Mia. It's short, but effective for VR demonstration purposes, as it prohibits the player from moving and allows them to only experience the brutality of being stabbed. The demo was a hit at E3 2015, and proved that virtual reality made sense for RE7. Following its success, Takeuchi decided that RE7 would be fully compatible with PlayStation VR. Though this would present a number of new challenges, RE Engine could handle it. VR support for the engine was added in a little over 2 months for the Kitchen demo. It was a very tight schedule to make sure that it could be done right and wouldn't affect other aspects of development. It's worth noting that while Takeuchi had faith in VR and ultimately greenlit the entire game to support it, he couldn't actually experience it. Despite this, he understood its importance and benefit for the project, one he had been working on at that point for over a year. With VR support implemented and a very refined method established of building the rest of the game, the team set record pace, and by the end of 2015, the core of RE7 was almost complete. Though it would need more work throughout the next year, the game Takeuchi envisioned in 2014 could finally be shown to the rest of the world. The day Resident Evil 7 was revealed at E3 2016 was a tense one. It was time to see if everyone was right. Takeuchi spent the morning pacing the Capcom office in Japan, while Kawada and others in management were at the announcement in the Los Angeles night. They had all spent the days prior carefully putting together the game's trailer. Takeuchi specifically wanted the title drop at the end, so the audience would be intrigued and ask what the game was, something that would be answered with very clever typography. When the cheers rang out, the team was vindicated. They chose the right concept and it was accepted. But the trailer didn't just end with the announcement of a new Resident Evil game. There was also a release date to go with it, January 24th, 2017. With the relief that the game's reveal was received well, the team had to finish the job. Kodono and the other project managers had a schedule laid out for getting the game content complete and then polishing it. Like with any game, RE7 had a number of bugs and other issues before polishing that ranged from comical to game-breaking. Bugs weren't the only issue, however. There were a number of discussions about the game's opening and other scenarios that needed changing. Changing things like these so drastically when the game was so late into development would of course present more work for the team, but it was done regardless. Everyone working on the game was dedicated to making it as good as it could be, no matter what had to be scrapped or the amount of work needed to complete it. Not to mention, the majority of overhauling had already been done. Prior to the game's announcement at E3, significant areas of the game were reworked and some outright remade. The most important of these being the second half of the game, which had problems with pacing and maintaining the terror that the team had spent so much time crafting in the game's first half. Everyone agreed that there were problems with it, and it was remade. So by the time the game's announcement came, it was already in far better shape than it was at the start of 2016. And by the end of 2016, October specifically, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard was complete.
Go tell Aunt Rhodey. Go tell Aunt Rhodey. Go tell Aunt Rhodey that everybody's dead.
Resident Evil 7 was the world's introduction to Ethan and Mia Winters, the Baker family, and the Mutamycete. It was also the start of a new chapter in survival horror. By combining the gameplay of classic Resident Evil with modern presentation, Resident Evil 7 breathed new life into the franchise. As of October 8th, 2021, Resident Evil 7 has sold 10 million copies. And while this is certainly the type of success Capcom was hoping for, it did more for the company than anyone would think a single game could. For all of its triumphs, I think that making it easier for its developers to create games is its crowning achievement. After Resident Evil 7, the Reach for the Moon engine would go on to be used in Devil May Cry 5, Monster Hunter Rise, the remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 3, and of course, Resident Evil Village. All of these games were created in a 4-year time span, a testament to the level of efficiency created by the engine and the technologies it integrated.
Holy shit, dude. That was nice. What update for the village? Let's see. Let's see then. Let me see one thing. Oh, speedruns, come. Oh, New Game Plus. So it is option for New Game Plus. Huh. Okay. Okay. So if I complete the game in less than 2 hours, I'll be the 184th position. Still. I'm gonna make it. Oh yeah, okay. Okay. Let's go. Gonna end the second playthrough. And hopefully start third. Of course, if I'm going to be able because I'm a little bit tired today. Okay, continue. Yes. Wait, what? I should use... Okay, never mind.
Ah, yes, yes.
Yes.
This is all an investment, even.
Oh. So it's added. Nice. Okay.
Take care.
Still wonder what's quicker. Really? Okay. Looked. It's better. Jesus fucking Christ. Alright, this is locked. Locked it is.
Did he do this too?
Can I place this and wait for you? Oh, so you did. That was quick, okay. Missed something here? Sure.
Seems useful.
Forget about this dude. Yeah. Jesus.
Oh, Ethan. Such a disappointment. I thought we could join forces against that bitch Miranda. Truly disappointed. She took us to be her children. She locked us away in the village. Decades of being forced to serve her. Can you even understand that humiliation? I'm not like my siblings. I want nothing more than to be free of that bitch. So I need power. I need enough power to destroy her. These are the fruits of my power. The strong will destroy the weak. That's the way of the world. You should have never refused me, Ethan.
What a freak.
I've expanded my services. Please, come take a look. Seeking something in particular? little and often fills the purse, as they say.
$100.
This is all an investment, even. Thank you for your patronage.
Yeah.
Got a long way to go.
Miranda thinks we're nothing but children. Oh, she doesn't care for us? No. She's long lost all her humanity.
I don't give a shit about your family drama. Another one?
Oh shit. Crazy. I forget again.
Shit, that was close.
Soon, she'll start her ceremony with your rose. If that happens, it's all over. For your kids, and for the whole village. But don't worry, I'll stop it. I'll use Rose to kill Miranda. Poor Papa. You're the only one who doesn't see your kid's power.
Take Rose? I'd like to see you try. There's more?
Well then, feel free to peruse. Pay me no mind. These hands are more dexterous than one might think. Securing goods is more important than anything. Thank you for your patronage.
Wait, what? Holy moly guacamole.
Medical log. Revitalization surgery. This is my 18th attempt. The subject is Oscar the Stable Boy, 20 years old. He fell down the well while drunk. Body is in good condition.
Shall I choose something for you? Your coin. This is all an investment. Have a wonderful adventure.
You really are a tough one. But I'm tired of chit-chat. Time to die. You can hear it, can't you? Someone waiting for you.
I don't have time for this bullshit. Out of my way. again? Can't turn back now. I'm coming, Rose.
You're like a goddamn cockroach! You think you can take me on? Fine. This will be my war before I kill the bitch. Let's second this. Man. A man. Your corpse will be another addition to my army! This is the best! Miss me! Now I gotta kill ya! Poor boy, stop using my hand-me-down. So this is the path all along, huh? Is Moses Daddy alright? Thanks, Mom. Leave for the dead. Having fun? Coward, in the face of my steel glory! Guess I do have to thank that bitch Miranda for this. I'll kill her with the power she gave. That's what I call being a good son! How I felt, spending years under the bitch's throat. The villagers are nothing but a bunch of worthless peons. I'm a goddamn freedom fighter! I'll use your cute love to become the clock is ticking. But you're first! afterlife. Rose's power is one. Right after I murdered Miranda. This can't be the end for me! I must kill her!
Captain, I've confirmed the death of Ethan Winters. I wasn't able to retrieve the body, but I've recorded evidence.
Share your screen, and I'll go over the situation.
Okay, be right back. Okay, I'm back.
Been a while since we fought together, Captain. When was it last? The desert?
Doing nothing but recon's gotten me out of shape.
But thanks to your recon, we know Miranda's plan.
Couldn't quite believe it when I heard she turned herself into Mia, though. Taking 5 shots to the head's nothing to sneeze at either. Spooky.
Hey, Alpha. Look at this. SAA. They've gone to... Everyone watch for hostile bioweapons.
Roger.
Made contact with a group of hostile bioweapons.
There's more than we thought. Watch out.
Western route is clear. Moving out.
Roger that.
BSAA craft spotted. 2 guards. I can take them.
Don't get cocky.
What the hell is that thing? It's all mutamycete.
That's probably where Miranda is. Let's go. Large mutated bioweapon sighted.
The boat may be releasing infectious particulates. Keep your masks on. Didn't expect to see the BSAA going so hard.
They had eyes on Miranda, too. Probably felt they needed to intervene.
Boss, it's me. I'm at the location preparing for support fire. Might be a minute.
Roger.
Tundra here. Leaving some supplies in one of the houses, Captain. Help yourself.
Umber Eyes, I need some backup.
I see you. 200 to the point.
I've never heard of a mutamycete colony growing so huge. Hey, I get eyes on you, boss. Keep moving.
If my mom saw that shit, she'd think she died and gone to hell.
Really?
I've reached the target location. Damn, this is big. All right, Lobo. Marking the target.
Roger that, boss. Takes a minute to target the point. Bingo! All right. Reloading now. Just a minute. It's a small pity that way. Okay, Captain. I'm reloaded. Ready when you are. Mold is rapidly expanding. Must be something stimulating.
I'll mark a point with the target locator. Hang on.
Roger that.
Captain, there must be a Megamycete too.
Hold your horses. I'm reloading.
It's that. Watch your perimeter, Chris.
I'm reloaded. Where should I point next? How many are there? Everyone okay?
They're coming from the mold. There's no end to them.
Give me a break.
Damn it, these things are using weapons.
Sure they're thinking the same thing. Take that!
Good. Megamycete must be below. I found a way down. I'm going in, the rest of you stay back.
Captain, I compared the mold at the village with a sample from the bakers, and there's no sign of the genome editing we saw in the E-series. The stuff originated here.
Guarding the Megamycete, huh? I got a tough guy here. I'm gonna need backup.
Boss, you're on the ground.
There's an opening in the roof. Use it.
Okay, I'm moving out. Hold on till you get there.
I'll keep going. The rest of you, stay above ground.
So if Miranda was the fake Mia, where's the real one? I doubt she saw any further use for her. I don't get any of this. How did Miranda even know Rose exists?
A moldy little bird told her, maybe?
We can figure that out later. Focus on the plan. I found it. It's the Megamycete.
Captain, I have eyes on Miranda at the ceremony site.
Keep your distance. Do not move until I give the order.
I know it's too late now, but we really should have told Ethan the plan.
There wasn't time. We didn't expect Miranda to act so soon.
Even so, you should have told him.
Yeah. This must be Miranda's lab. Spencer, here. No way.
It's cold.
How did I get here? God, it's freezing. This shit in my body. I gotta go.
Duke's Emporium has everything you need for your decisive battle. Oh, the assemblage of life and machine. I can feel Lord Heisenberg's essence through it. These hands are more dexterous than one might think. Your journey nears its end. How about some reckless spending to finish it off? Worry not. You can buy it back if you like. Leave this to me. Choose wisely. Your life, please. Be well.
Thanks. I gotta keep going.
You fulfilled your purpose, Mr. Winters. You disposed of my false children and awakened the glorious Nights. Now, please do not worry for little Rose. I assure you I'll provide her with true peace. So now you can die peacefully. You understand the level of
I'm not letting you get away.
How can you deny me?
Why the hell can't you realize Rose is my goddamn
The
kid,
Megamycete
not yours?
saved me from the pits of despair. It granted me this splendid power.
Yeah, right. I'm done crack nuts.
You fulfilled your purpose, Mr. Winters. You disposed of my false children and awakened the glorious innocence. Now, please do not worry for little Rose. I assure you I'll provide her with truth. So now you can die peacefully. You understand the level of
Do not let me get away.
How can you deny me?
Why the hell can't you realize Rose is my goddamn kid, not yours?
The Megamycete saved me from the pits of despair. It granted me this splendid power.
Yeah, right. All it's done is drive me nuts.
After all, everyone dies. Hold still. Oh, great Megamycete, hear my prayer! Now, Mr. Winters, I think it's time we left things in my hands. Oh, yes.
The hell I will.
If I combine Rose with a Megamycete, my daughter will be made manifest at last! A century! All for this day! You were truly a wonderful father. Till now, of course.
Do you have sufficient weapons and items? I see. Anything else? Looking forward to testing it out? Please, be well.
You fulfilled your purpose, Mr. Winters. You disposed of my false children and awakened the glorious Megamycete. Now, please do not worry for little Rose. I assure you I'll provide her with truth. So now you can die peacefully. You understand the level of parental
Do not let me
child.
get away.
How can you deny me?
Why the hell can't you realize Rose is my goddamn
The
kid,
Megamycete
not yours?
saved me from the pits of despair. It granted me this splendid power.
Yeah, right. All it's done is drive you nuts.
Will this kill you? Hold still. Oh, great Megamycete, hear my prayer! None shall interfere in my grand designs. If I combine Rose with a Megamycete, my daughter will be made manifest at last! I've waited a century, all for this day. Why won't you? Why do you surely you have no equals now, so close to death?
She's my goddamn daughter, you psycho!
Cease this foolishness. Curse this ramshackle bitch. His Rose. I can take any form I desire. Just a hound. This is those forms. They could do nothing to assuage my years of loneliness.
You're not capable of real
This
love.
is how you end the years. To ensure I never see you.
Wow. 4 hours, 36 minutes. Fucking A, that's long. Oh, so oh.
Gifts we gave, but more you took, she snarled. So
Did you say something?
Nothing. I'll put her down. They're there. It's like I said to your mom.
That book's too scary for you. Almost there, honey. There you go, sweetheart. What did all this? Where the hell am I? Maybe they're out.
What happened? Did they just run out of the house? Jesus Christ. What? What the hell? Is it over? There's no end to them. Rose is here?
This way.
Damn, the fire's moving fast. Don't worry, and try not to breathe in the smoke.
I know. Thank you, Ethan. You're kind.
I just don't get it.
Death. Yes. Death has visited them all.
Guess this leads to the castle. Nothing but blood and death. Huh?
Well, well.
The man is of no real use to anyone else, and my daughters do so love entertaining foreigners. Furthermore, I can assure you if you
Ah, Jesus Christ!
That's right. Run for your life. Very nice, Ethan.
Shit!
My word. You truly are as strong as they say. Oh, you didn't think I'd let you get away, did you? Gotta keep Donna and Moreau entertained. So now it's time for the beautiful, blood-soaked grand finale. Nothing like fresh American ground beef!
Too close. Wait, do those freaks have Rose?
I've been waiting for you, Mr. Winters. Oh, yes. Oh, now here's something I haven't seen before. Ah, yes, I have you. Find some quality ingredients and bring them to me. I'm surprised you'd part with this so early. Securing goods is more important than anything. Anything, my friend. Now this is something. Carry on. This is all an investment, Ethan. To think I would buy such things. A good deal, if I say so myself.
Could Rose be here?
by.
Ah, yes, yes. One moment, please. A good deed. So then, feel free to peruse. What? Ah, it's fine. All finished. Your coin.
I think that's all for today. Going to sleep. There's also day tomorrow. So yeah, bye bye.